start my my little spiel here. And I want to start with that I grew up on a small farm, no, on a farm in a small village in Schleswig-Holstein. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Close to the Baltic Sea. And despite the political upheaval and the potential of a war, I had a happy and a safe childhood. And I painted a lot from as far back as I can remember. I was always painting or doing something with the art, and my mother really encouraged this. I remember doing a lot of sketches, and mostly fairy tales, princes and princess and witches and all the things that young girls like to get involved in. But none of these sketches and these paintings have survived, of course, because that's now like 70 plus years or 80 years back. But a few days ago, I was surprised. My brother sent me a bunch of photographs of a tale that I had made for his children, probably when I was in my teens. And they were exactly the kind of fairy tales I would create throughout, actually, from very early on. And I think we're going to start with the first slide, Harry, shall we? The tale is of Nadine. She's a water nymph. And she wants to go and visit the earth, and she gets permission to do so. Next. And I selected actually 5 from 10 because you get the message. Here she is being offered a ride by a butterfly. Next. And after she has done a lot of walking and she's tired, she falls asleep under a mushroom. And a mushroom gives good shelter for the sun. And some dwarves find her and they don't want to wake her. And you see the little fellow is putting his finger on his lips. Be quiet. Next. And they invite her they're delighted with her, of course, and they invite her to a wonderful soup, a raspberry soup. And then she has to return, of course, to her. After there's several more that I did not choose to show, but she then returns next to her water, to her sea. Next, Harriet.
Hanna, I need to interrupt you for a moment. Lori, can you record this, please? Okay, Hanna.
Yeah, can we do it?
Yeah.
And here Nadine is being taken back to her sea, to be back with her compatriots and her father. And I've forgotten what kind of, what I think they're wasps that are they're dragging the cart. So that's representative of the kind of work I used to do as a child. And that's why I showed these few, because I hope to get back into painting fully once. I'm doing it really, I wanted to set it up as if it were a full circle, starting with painting and ending with painting. Anyway, so now I'm going to get onto the time when I emigrated to England. And the early war years were very difficult in Germany. After the war, of course, my hopes of becoming a medical illustrator fell totally apart, and opportunities to find work were very few. In 1954, I emigrated to England, and on a work visa to begin nursing training. In 1957, I married, and the next 6 years we lived in London. And when I was in London, I decided, and we agreed, my husband and I agreed, I should apply to St. Martin's School of Art for a 3-year sort of period. And rather than painting, actually, I wanted to study painting, but rather than painting, the director decided I should try sculpture first. And on the first day of my class, I was shown a block of wood secured in a vise and a gouge and a mallet, and told how to avoid hitting my thumb and prevent a chisel from getting buried in the wood. And just go ahead and start carving. I had no instructions. During the following years, I was taught probably most of all disciplines of sculpture. And all our instructors actually had to have been apprenticed to Henry Moore. And I think some of the names even today may still be popular. Anthony Caro was one. Philip King was an instructor. Richard Tucker and Isaac Whitkin. Isaac actually lived and came to America, and we established contact, which was lovely. The next slide will be, Harry, can you forward that? This is an elm carving, and it's called Sorrow. It was carved at the time, it was carved at St. Martin's during those 3 years in 1963. And it was carved at the time when Kennedy was assassinated. And I just couldn't stop digging deeper and deeper, and because I was shattered by his assassination, of course. And this is the only sculpture actually I could bring with me when we eventually moved to America in 1967. And I repeated when we bought our house here in Hamden. I picked up my carving again because I had, obviously in England, I didn't do too much. I had to work for a while. And then when we moved to America in 67, we bought a house in Hamden. And I established a workshop in the basement. And then I really started carving for years. And I repeated a stone carving that I had to leave in England when we came over to America. And it's interlocking stones. The original was done in limestone in England. And this one is done in Vermont marble. And it now resides in Santa Barbara in a relative's yard. And now you will see a number of wood carvings. And these were kind of serious wood carvings. But before you see that, you will see an example of some of my woodworking tools. Harry, yeah, there you are. That's just a very small number of the tools that I would use. And some of the gouges are huge. They're really massive gouges. But this gives you an idea. And then I want to show you the next slide. This is how I would mount a block of wood. And that's probably going to be, I forget which one this was, but it's probably going to be a piece like 25 inches tall. This would be just the head had been started. That's how I start working. That's it. And you see a hand actually down to the left of that's not for this doll. I just put it there to show you how refined you need to get. And behind this hand there's also behind this hand, there's also a hand, and that is wood that I'm absolutely in love with, but it's hell to carve. It's cocobolo, and that's how it looks when it's finished. Okay, next. This is the first carving I did in America when I first arrived. She doesn't look too happy, probably reflective of my total consternation when when we first arrived. And she was done in mahogany and it was 12 inches tall. Next. This is my farming couple. You can see my farming background, so I identify with nice chubby people. And yes, this is done in, I think it's done in walnut actually. Yes, it's walnut. And they are about 23, 24 inches tall. Next. This is, a friend gave me a twisted piece of wood. What you see here, this is a wire that got embedded in that branch of wood, and the wood grew around that wire. So, and the only thing I had to do was to do the head of the carving. And I thought he would be a real wood spirit. So he was a fun one to do. Next. That's my loving couple. That was done in cherry wood and it's 23 inches. And this is mother and child. That is done in walnut. No, it's done in cherry wood actually. And this, yes, this is a 45-inch tall oak carving. And that was done at the time after my mother's death, when she died at 63. And it's called Comfort. Next. And this is a sort of an abstract carving. It's, I call it sisters because they're actually duplicates of each other, except one is a bit shorter. And that's mahogany. And they are 24 inches. And after this, next, Harriet, I guess we can go to the next one. I saw an article in the New Haven Register, and it described how to do applehead doors. And I thought, oh, that's kind of fun idea. It was winter, you know, and the fireplace was on, and you could dry the apples on the fireplace sitting there on the mantelpiece. And so I started with 8 apple heads. And I carved them and I stuck cloves in the eyes and I pickled them. I think I over pickled them because they kind of shriveled up to dwarfs. They really did remind me of dwarfs. And I thought, that's okay, so I'll make some bodies. And then all of a sudden I had 7 dwarfs. I actually had 8, but I used 7. And then now I need to have a Snow White. So I decided to carve a Snow White. She had to be carved, of course. She couldn't be a shriveled up apple head. And I still have her. They say you should never get rid of your first doll. I still have her and she still looks like that. And she's 22 inches tall. And she was the first doll I made and I carved and dressed. And I had so much fun with the whole thing that I decided, okay, I'm going to do Hansel and Gretel, but in wood now. So I did. And these were all pretty fair, good sized dolls. So Hansel and Gretel were probably 12 inches and the witch was like 20 inches. And I kept on making more and more fairy tale scenes. These were all like diorama scenes. And the whole living room was filled with them. And my friends And my husband asked me, what on earth are you doing? Fooling around with these dolls, you should be carving sculpture. But I just couldn't. I just had to continue. So I continued just carving dolls. And we can go to the next one, I think. By the way, the difference between a doll and a figurine is that a doll has to be able to be moved. So the limbs have to be jointed and you move them. And to play with them, except mine you wouldn't play with because they're not exactly toys. But, and a figure is a shape in place. It doesn't move. It's literally like a statue. So this is the beginning of a doll, which will become finally a Cinderella. And these are the stages. This is how it starts. So this is stage 2. But I only took some of the photographs because there were an awful lot of this minute differences. Next. Here she's more refined. And the next one is pretty well finished, except it needs a lot of sanding there. And the following one is next. That is the finished doll. And that is Cinderella. And Cinderella, after Cinderella, I made a frog princess. Next, Harriet. And the frog is actually in her hand. She's holding the frog in her hand. And they are the dolls. If they're Caucasian dolls, I will use basswood, which is a boring wood, and not too hard. And then I can paint it because you can see that yes, about 22 inches tall, and the costuming is fabulous because I had a wonderful shop in Wallingford. It was called Heirloom Linens and Lace. And she had, it was a treasure trove. She had so many wonderful antique materials, and everything practically on my dolls came from that shop. And she had a special box when she thought there was something I really would like. It had to be in scale for dolls. And that's kind of tricky to get that in scale. And all this was in scale. It was just, so she kept a big box for me. And she said, I have a big box for you. You can come now and check it out. And I would not even look at it. I said, I'd take it off. And unfortunately, her shop closed about 10 years ago. So yeah, it's a pity, but there you are. Anyway, so that is Camille. Also, she is also carved in Hollywood, and she's 28 inches tall. The hair is mohair. It's mohair wigging, which I do. In fact, everything you see on my dolls, I have done it myself, unless it's a bit of, you know. Anyway, go back to that one, Harry, please. Because the dress is cannibalized sequined flapper dress. And it was difficult to do, and some of the sequins would fall off during construction. But anyway, it was absolutely wonderful to have that flapper dress rescued and put it on the store. Okay, the next one is Adrienne. She was done in, I think, in maple wood. I can't quite remember. It's a long time ago. And she is reading a book, and the costume, actually, this is something I got from Ireland. I bought the skirt material in Ireland, and it was perfect for this store. Next. This is a mermaid. She was done in walnut, and she would have been tall. If she had had legs, she would have been about 30 inches tall. And I had her at, I used to go to Toy Fair, at the annual Toy Fair, for 9-10 years. And she was quite a sensation at the Toy Fair, actually, because I had an agent who represented 20 or more contemporary artists, doll artists. And this was the first customers would see when they came down the stairs to the section where this big booth was with all those artists who had fabulous, one-of-a-kind dolls. The tail is made of cloth. And the tail is made of cloth and wire. And it was quite an achievement to do that. All right, so that's my mermaid. And the next, this is Violetta in cherry wood. And again, it's from heirloom linens and lace, the material. Everything that you see on my dolls is from there. Okay, she's cherry wood, and she would be about 26 inches tall if she was standing. Next. This is the Cocobola I told you about earlier. This, it was just an unbelievable, my hair, my skin, everything was red from the dust when you sand it. It was, and then I found out later on that the dust from the Cocobola is toxic. And I was working without a mask or anything. And anyway, this is the outcome of, and she's an African queen. And she was a big sensation because she's so black. Her eyes are painted. Next. This is a skeleton. This is a demonstration of how the dolls are constructed. You can see you can see here the patches, they're leather patches, which are stapled on. And the arms would be attached. A wire would go through the bust, through the shoulders, and would come out each side. And then it would be the same as down here. Then I would cover this with stuffing, of course, and turn it into, in this case, thighs and legs. And the same would happen with the shoulders. So the arms would be coming out like that. And now we show you the finished one. This is the finished product of the doll that you just saw in construction. And she's wearing Whiting and Davis cannibalized evening purse. You can see the shape of the purse here. I opened it up, and a lot of people said to me, how could you do that? That's a beautiful evening purse. How could you cannibalize it? And I found it was more attractive than holding it at a party at night. So next. Here, she's a gypsy. She's a tall gypsy, and she's done in cherry. But what I wanted to point out to you is that the eyes are not glass eyes. They're actually all the eyes on all my dolls, including some of my porcelains. They're painted. They're not inserted glass eyes. So and I think that made my dolls a bit different too. Actually, there are not many people who make attractive wooden dolls. When you hear of wooden dolls, you think of Pinocchio usually. And anyway, mine are not Pinocchios, okay? So we go to the next. Oh, that's my Patriot doll. I was called by the Columbia Pictures if I would make a Queen Anne doll for a movie, The Patriot. And he told me the story of, and who were the, it was quite funny actually. I make it very brief. He told me the story of the movie. It's a serious movie, and very serious with lots of gore and fighting and killing. And this little girl is going to carry the doll. And he told me the lead actor would be, what's his name?
Gibson.
Mel Gibson, yeah, thank you. And the one of the other main actors was supposed to be Heath Ledger. And I said, oh yes, that's very interesting. So the pop manager asked me, do you know who Mel Gibson is? I said, well, actually, I don't. And he said, oh, that's refreshing. Because I had no idea who these people were because I didn't watch many movies. Anyway, she was made for the movie. I gave them a choice of two, and they picked this one, and she went through hell because they had to burn her. It's part of the movie. But she is seen a lot, carried by that little actress. And so that was a very fun project to do. And the movie was first shown in 2000. Next. This is when I used to go to exhibit my dolls at Toy Fair in at Javits Center. And my agent thought I should branch out and do porcelain. So I learned how to do porcelain, you know, doing a head and limbs and whatever. Learning how to make plaster casts and pouring porcelain slip, and firing it with lots of disasters at times. And then I would give, Simo Man was my company that mass produced my dolls. And she is one of them. This was a 32-inch porcelain doll. And the eyes are painted. This is a 32-inch size child doll. And she is a prototype. This is another doll. It's actually the same face as the first one that you saw. But when you change the eye color and you put a different wig on, it's a different doll. And this one is full busted, as you can see. So next. This is called a blank. When I went to Toy Fair with my dolls all the time, I made some friends who were ardent miniature collectors and very involved in the miniature world. And one of my friends asked me, would I make a Hiddy doll? So this is a blank. That means it's a pre-cut shape of a Hiddy doll. And what you do with that, that's the finished version of it from the backside. And the Hiddy doll has to be, she has a black curls, carved black curls. She has to wear, every Hiddy has to wear a coral necklace. And all the limbs have to move in tandem. And she cannot be any larger than 6¼ inches tall. In fact, she must be that size. If she isn't, the Hiddy collectors are not too happy. So anyway, I had a friend, she became a friend, and she kept on bugging me and said, you know, will you carve me a Hiddy? I said, no, I don't even know what a Hiddy is. So she bombarded me with the book, Hiddy, Her First 100 Years, by Rachel Fields, and written in 1929. And she got the Newbery Prize for it, apparently. And she's a very popular doll and has a large collector circle. So, and they're quite extreme in collecting Hitty dolls. They pay fortunes for these dolls. It's quite amazing. I must have made, yeah, there's one. And the scenes in the book are really kind of sweet because that's what really convinced me that I should make a Hitty. And so this is a Hitty sitting at her desk and she's writing with a feather. Let's go to the next. This is another Hitty, and she's just a sweet little girl. And you can see the coral necklace on her up here. You see, that's her coral necklace. And I have 2 or 3 long strings of coral necklace, so I can make lots of more Hitty dolls if I want to. Next. Hitty actually, because she is small, led me to miniatures. These friends took me to a miniature show. And when I saw what they did in miniature, not with particularly with dolls, everything, it just blew me away. And I decided then I need to become a member of this guild. It's called International Guild of Miniature Artisans, and in short, IGMA. And it's very, very exacting, wonderful. I'm so happy that I'm part of it because it really stressed my techniques, and it really was an achievement to get accepted there. And if you're interested, you should look them up because they're just, the work they do is astounding. A lot of work is actually by some of the artists. You would find it in museums like the Smithsonian and museums throughout. Yeah, they're fabulous. This is the mouse. She's 5.5 inches tall. And the mouse was made by another miniature artist. And that was one of my submission pieces when I wanted to join and become part of the guild. And if you go to the next. That's my snow baby. And I made that for Christmas, obviously. And he's, oh, by the way, the wood I use for miniatures is totally different to the wood I use in large dolls. This is holly wood, which is very fine, very delicate, and hard to carve, but it takes wonderful detail. So we go to the next. And this is my Adam and Eve. And I intended to have the apple in his mouth or close to his mouth. But then I decided, well, God, spent so much time on giving him the cutest teeth. His teeth show, because he was supposed to bite into the apple. And then I thought, no, that would mean you can't see the teeth anymore. So she's just handing him the apple. And she looks wicked, doesn't she? This is Helping Hands. This is Granny who is knitting, and her little granddaughter is helping her. Granny is done in boxwood. And I love doing older faces because nothing is more difficult than to make a beautiful young face because you can't get away with anything. You know, you can't have one eye but bigger than the other. It's very, very difficult to make a beautiful, realistic face. With grannies, you can get away with murder because it doesn't matter if one wrinkle is higher than the other and so on. So I love doing older faces. And this is a 2-inch pear baby. This is done in pear wood, and it shows you the size compared to a finger. So it's and he's just oiled with tung oil, and he has a little wig of mohair. No, actually, with miniatures you don't use mohair. It's out of scale. It's too heavy. You use viscose. So that's what I use actually in miniature dolls, viscose, not mohair. Next. when I was showing my dolls at various guild show um, exhibitions or conventions, a woman came up to me and said she saw my Princess on the Pea, a miniature version, and she said, you know, can I buy that? And I said, gosh, no, you can't, because I just sold it. And she said, well, will you make me another one? And I promised faithfully to do that. And 6 months later, I still hadn't done it. And she called me and she said, you know, what's happened to my Princess on the Pea? And I said, you know, I'm working on it. And so I had to, of course. And as we were talking, she said, you know, we are in Kentucky, we are putting a big addition onto the existing museum, General Museum. And she said, I just had a light bulb went off in my head. She said, would you be prepared to make 12 fairy tale scenes? And it would be your own section and it would be on permanent display. And of course I said, yes, of course I would do that. And it took me 4 years to complete the 12 scenes. And I think you're going to, now, this particular scene is the old woman in the shoe, of course. I made the shoe out of wood, and you see a little face showing out there. There's the two that are looking out the other window you can't see. And there are 13 children in all, varying in size from this teeny one, from 1.5 inches to 4.5 inches to this, and the mother is 5.5 inches tall. These are all done in Hollywood, and she's done in boxwood, which is a beautiful English wood. These were, the chickens were actually done by a very, very well-known miniature artist, who's since has died. She did wonderful, wonderful animals. Okay, now we go to next. This is, of course, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This castle, the background, is a cutout plywood shape, which I then painted. It's some famous castle, I've forgotten which one it was. And that is, of course, the castle the prince came from, and where he will take Snow White when they're married. And all the dwarfs are all done in boxwood, and they're so happy that she is alive again. And you can see they're all, yeah, they're happy. And this is the lid of the glass coffin. I had a glass coffin made here in Southington by a company, and they were very interested in doing it. And I made this wreath, and on the wreath it says, in loving memory. So, next. This is Hansel and Gretel, of course. And again, the background, I made probably everything, including the trees. Don't ask me how I did it, but I did. And so these are Gretel and Hansel. And she's saying, come hither, I'm going to cook you. Anyway, next. This is Cinderella. And I had another artist make the glass slipper for me. And well, it's obvious. And I made the fireplace. I was very proud of that. And I made the flooring as well. And okay, next. This is the Frog Princess in miniature. And the frog actually, because how could I keep it in her hand? So it's pegged into her hand. I drilled a hole into her hand. It hurt me when I did that, actually. I thought, that's terrible, drilling a hole into her hand. And but I attached the frog with a tiny dowel to her hand. The next slide will show you the frog in detail. So that's the frog, and he's only 2/3 of an inch tall. Okay. And next. Now this is a different version. It's I guess it's artistic license. Instead of instead of Rapunzel looking out the window, I wanted her having found him, or I wanted him in it as well, the prince, because he's been blinded. When her hair got cut off, because he used to climb up to visit Rapunzel, he climbed up on her hair, and the nasty witch, and that's how he fell, because the witch cut her hair off, and he fell into the thorn bushes and was blinded. That's the story. You know it probably. And so that was a different version of showing all three of the figures, and it's quite popular. This is Snow White and Rose Red, and she has, with her scissors, you can see the scissors there, she has cut off his beard, and he's absolutely livid at what she's done. Okay, next. This is another princess on the P, and she has 12 mattresses. A friend made me these 2 windows, this one and another one on the other side. And that's also part of the display. And and now we're getting into the last section of my presentation. This is how a painting starts. This is at very early stages. This is just a rough outline, and it's a Gainsborough, a little girl who is carrying a water jug and a dog. I wanted to show the size of it. If you can see, it's 3.5 inches long, it's 2.5 inches across. And so it gives you some idea how tiny they are. We go to the next one. This is a 2.5 by 3.5, very bad photograph. In those days, I didn't care too much about photography, but now I wished I had put in more effort for some of them. And this is a Velázquez, the Infanta Margarita, and it's oil on wood board, and it's at a museum. And next, this is my favorite one, but it looks gigantic here. That is really the actual size, is 3.5 by 4.5 inches. And that was a killer. This rug really killed me. Everything killed me on this painting. But I loved it because it was so interesting to do it, because look, it has that a painting within a painting. The frame is made, a lot of the frames are made by a very, very famous English artist, John Hodgson. And so that is the frame that this one is in. It is Metsu, Gabriel Metsu, a man writing a letter. Next, and this is the last one. This is a Peter de Hoogh, a woman peeling an apple with a child. And that was also a killer to do. All of the miniatures take probably longer than a large painting because it's so tiny, and so this is 2.5 by 3, and no, this is 3.5 by 4.5 inches, and a lot of detail. And so there you have it. And I hope to get back into painting. I don't know about carving because I'm getting a little bit ancient and arthritic, but painting I can do for some more years. Thank you so much for listening to me. And
Hanna, we have to thank Louis for all of his work.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I don't know if he likes to be named like that, but I think he's very modest.
What did Louis do?
Louis put together the PowerPoint slideshow that I just showed. He understood what to do where and did a wonderful job of it.
Louis considers it was his paltry effort, he said.
His paltry effort. It was wonderful. I'm just absolutely amazed and delighted by your skills and your imagination. It was just, thank you so much, Hanna.
Thank you. That's worthwhile having done it, you know, because I was freaking out over the whole thing.
Oh.
We have a few minutes for some questions if anybody has a question.
Yes, do you have questions?
I'm curious how you did the wigs.
The wigs, they're done actually, well, you know, large wigs right onto the wood. It's a messy business. It's an extremely messy business to make wigs. I don't do wig caps because it doesn't look natural. So for larger dolls, I use mohair, and for miniature dolls, I use viscose because that is more in scale, and it's literally glued onto the. You know, that would really make a good presentation too, because you could actually see how painfully slow it is and how messy it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's yeah. There are lots of technical issues with carving and costume, but and it's difficult to explain it, of course.
Amazing.
You have to see it, really. Yes.
More questions?
Patty had a question earlier. Patty? Unmute.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I've been lucky enough to see some of Hanna's things, and they are just even better than what you saw on the screen. They're just extraordinary. It is hard to visualize the size. It was smart to put the penny next to one of those paintings, Hanna. Are there any that people could see sometime?
Yes.
Maybe some summer day?
Yes. There are a couple. Yes. I have some that were not in this in the show, which I'm still working on, and because moving, you know, it's taken sort of like a whole year out of my life.
Of course.
Yeah. Yes, and no, I do have some. Yes.
You had a little maypole with tiny figures that was charming.
Yeah, I have them. Yes, you can actually turn the
yes.
Yes.
Hanna, my sister Rob had a question about the clothing. Do you make your own sewing patterns? Is everything hand sewn? Do you put all that?
I sew with a machine. I sew
you do it with machine?
Yes, I have a sewing machine, and I do sew with a machine. But no, and I don't make patterns. That's so it's trial and error. I kind of think what it should look like, and I hold a piece of paper or whatever next to the body, and then I just knowing how approximately the costume should be constructed. I have some idea, but you know, it's hit and miss. But it's exciting. It brings a little bit of excitement into your life when you say, I wonder if it's going to fit, and then it doesn't, and it's, oh no, not again.
I wanted to ask about the furniture, the period furniture. Do you make that?
No, this is what I get from. Oh, you mean in the large scenes,
yeah. Well,
I'm not a furniture.
Whatever.
No, I can't do furniture. I have to buy that.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, in the miniature piece where Cinderella is sitting in a chair, that was made by an English artist, and she's known for her Tudor furniture, and it's absolutely exquisite. And she made that for the scene.
And Hanna, do you have a model in mind for the faces? Do you copy them? It's all in your head?
It's in my head, yes. Yes.
Yeah, good head.
Oh my God. I have a question. Hanna, do you use tools to hold these tiny pieces, or do you hold them with your fingers?
I hold them with the small ones, I hold them with my fingers, yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
They're so extraordinary.
Well,
They really are marvelous.
thank you, Nan. Thank you. It's
Hanna, the variety of your career is really amazing. But I was interested in the museum display that you did of all the fairy tales. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Where is that museum in Kentucky?
that is in Maysville, Kentucky. It's right across from Cincinnati.
Oh,
That part of Kentucky. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised, you know, because when I brought all the tales over there for setup, it was a big undertaking. When we drove from Cincinnati down to Maysville, oh my God, what kind of a museum is this going to be? I mean, you know, it's really rural and a very poor part of the country. But Maysville is really interesting. It's got it's a lot of the old landmarks, you know, as regards architecture, are being restored now. But it's a beautiful little town, and the owner. Actually, the reason she had the museum built or extended, she had offered her collection to the museum, and she said when she was told they would be delighted to have it. It was sort of like $1 million plus amount of collection she had, and when she decided to donate it to the museum and was told that the museum would decide when and how much would be shown, and they would kind of change the displays and so on. She said, no, I don't want to do, I want it seen. I mean, I collected beautiful stuff and I want it seen. So she decided that they should add on to museum. I know she and her husband are pretty well off. So she donated the whole collection. She bought masses of additional stuff from everybody, including mine. And they started a fundraiser in the town, and they added a whole, and it's one of the nicest and best museums now, with the most wonderful exhibits. And so that's how that museum started. And it was just luck, pure luck, that she saw my work, that she wanted, she asked if I could do some fairy tale scenes for her, 12.
Hanna, tell me again, what's the name of the town and the museum?
It's called Maysville, Maysville. And it's in Kentucky.
And the name of the museum?
Yes. It's absolutely beautiful, the museum. And you know, she tries to have like celebration get-togethers. And the last time we had one was where she felt that most artists who are displaying in her museum, and this is all permanent because she buys the objects, and so she's wonderful. She's a fairy godmother for miniature artists, because she really supports them. And she has then sort of like every 2 years she will have a reunion, And she felt that artists amongst themselves have very little idea what the other artists are doing. And so she invites 20 artists, and over 3 days, you're displaying your work. You get 2 hours each and so on. And you get to know your fellow artists whom you never, at a big show, you don't see anyone else's work because you have to be at your table. And no, it's an absolutely wonderful outfit, I must say. I'm very grateful to her. She is really very helpful.
Hanna, this is your buddy Joan. Does anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I thought I knew Hanna so well, and I'd seen pictures of her work, but I realized that we're going to have to keep her in a special chair. I mean, when pandemic opens up, we'll have to send a chariot to bring her to our next get together. Fabulous, Hanna dear. Thank you for all your work over the years, and thank you for this morning. It was beautiful. A beautiful experience.
I see Kim. Kim, go ahead. You need to unmute, please.
Kim, unmute.
Yep, she's doing it. No, Kim, try it again. Do it again. Kim, we can't hear. That's it.
Good. Yeah.
Nope, you keep double clicking.
Oh, I doubled it. Now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I too have seen some of Hanna's work, and it's marvelous. And it's overwhelming to see the totality of what you've shown today. One of the questions I have, because I'm most intrigued by your sculptures, and I wonder, is there a direct connection between the skills on your earlier work on the large sculptures and the kind of work you've gotten into in recent years? Or are they very, very different modes of expression?
I suppose because, you know, with the miniatures, I have more ability to have large scenes or dioramas. And I have realized one thing I do enjoy is putting my figures in an environment. I don't like single figures, really. So I really do like an environment for them, and that's I think why I love fairy tales so much.
Well, thank you so much. It's really been wonderful. And it will be lovely to get to see your work really when the pandemic is over again.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have a field trip. We can plan a field trip and we can all go to your studio when we're able to be together, Hanna.
But you have to go to the Ashlar Village woodworking shop then.
Yes, we will. We'll do it. More questions, comments? Who else? Let's see. Unmute yourself if you'd like to say something.
Norman,
all I was saying was it was absolutely marvelous. I enjoyed it.
Judith, you need to unmute, please. Jude, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, sorry. Hanna, I wanted to ask you if you're still using that fantastic magnifying object in your painting studio, and if you're doing any more of our favorite 17th century paintings these days.
Do you know what? I am actually working, but I have abandoned it for the time being. I'm working on 5 individual miniature paintings. Yeah, it's I'm glad the screen will only show a limited amount of my surroundings here, because you'd be horrified. It's full of boxes and full of bits and pieces. I need to totally organize things, and then I can start painting.
Hanna, are you in your home or are you in the woodworking studio?
No, I'm in my home.
You're in the apartment. Okay.
So you do the painting there?
I'm going to paint in my apartment. Yes,
That's
going to be nice. Yeah.
Linda Hammond?
Hanna, it was absolutely awesome. I am so impressed with all of your work, and the fairy tale paintings were just wonderful. Did you ever write a book with including the fairy tales?
No, do you mean the first one? Yes, no, I haven't, and I need to ask Harriet if she will be my editor, because I do have a couple of fairy tales that they're not really fairy tales. You know, there's one about leaves going through the cycle. And I was going to end it with the sweeper coming and burning them. It's a realistic story of what happens to leaves.
Thank you so much for your efforts.
Hanna, do you use a magnifying glass, a big magnifying glass?
No, I have goggles. You know, I have those things that
Oh, you have eyeglasses with magnifiers.
No, I have actually. Do you know what dentists wear or surgeons? Those. You look like Dr. Crippen when.
Yeah, because it's such fine work. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yes, but you know, it's also very frustrating. I think I'm a masochist because I like tension and anxiety. When I carve, I sort of feel that when something goes wrong, I chew on it and I dream about it, and I can't wait to get up again and try and rectify whatever I did to it. Usually I manage to pull it out. It may not be quite the same expression, but so I think that's why I'm a masochist. Yes. It's because when you make a mistake, you made a mistake, and you can't really put it.
Yeah, right.
Gosh,
Fabulous
amazing,
work.
amazing.
Just fabulous.
So we have time for a couple more questions. We're going to go till 12:15. Any more questions and comments? Okay, let's see, anybody else? Well, you can unmute yourselves and we can give Hanna a big round of applause. Hanna, thank you so much. You know, you're such an inspiration to all of us. You really are. Of course, we're not artists, so what good does it do? But it's just delightful to see your work and how it's evolved over the years. And we just love you so much. Thank you.
You again, your poetry efforts paid off, you know.
Well, it was a great pleasure to work with you. I got a sense of your sense of precision too. I should tell everyone that thanks to your determining that you've done exactly right, there were actually 4 iterations of that PowerPoint before Harriet was allowed to press the button.
Well done. Well done, Louis. Thank you.
Terrific.
So I would like to say something to all of you. We have a lot of artists and poets and writers and creative people in our community in Home Haven. If you would like to do one of these 1-hour presentations, lunch and learn, please contact Kate and let her know that you're interested in doing it. And we will schedule you. We're doing them once a month, and we've had some wonderful programs. So don't be shy about it. You can see it's pretty intimate, it's relaxed. We have a wonderful time together. And we would like to see your work. And it could be something professional, or it could be just your hobby. You know, we heard Liz read her poetry, and let's see, Celeste read her poetry, and Louis did his wonderful boats. Louis, what were they? Boats and airplanes?
Well,
boats and planes.
Boats and planes.
Yeah, it was just models.
Models.
Airplanes.
That was the word I was looking for. So Louis showed us his models, and now we've seen Hanna's work. So I just want to plant a seed. If you'd like to share with all of us, please let us know. And please look in your calendars and check out the happenings, which will be, we're going to be back on Friday with the weekly happenings, which Kate puts out. We took a few weeks off. So check the happenings for upcoming programs. We have some amazing stuff coming towards the end of this month. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a wonderful program with Dr. Dugdale on the lost art of dying. It's going to be a beautiful program, and we really would like all of you to be there. It's going to be for members only. And we also have a program from the Connecticut Food Bank. Excuse me, let me turn off my phone. Gosh, sorry guys. The Connecticut Food Bank is going to be presenting a program on how to feed the people who are struggling with food insecurity during the pandemic. And that's been organized by our own member, Nancy Carrington, who was the CEO, the director of the Connecticut Food Bank. She's arranged this program for us.
Laura, you
lost.
So it's 12. Just a little nudge to. Oh, looks like I'm frozen. I got.
You're okay.
Guys,
now.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and you know what? That usually means I'm talking too much. So
maybe I want to add one thing next week. Next week we have poets and writers. John Blue, who is a newish member and a local judge, is going to talk about his books. What is it called? The Case of the Piglet's Paternity. So a book he wrote a couple of years ago, old and unusual cases in New Haven, possibly New Haven County. So things from colonial and earlier, not any recent cases. He can't comment on that. But I think it should be fairly entertaining. And that is next Wednesday. But keep an eye on HAPS for the details for it.
Okay. Good, everybody.
Thank you all.
Be well. Thank you so much.
Hanna.
Thanks again. Thank you, Hanna.
Thank you,
all.
Hanna.
Well, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
She's really quite extraordinary.